We're going to move on now to our next item of business, which is topical questions. Our first question today is from Gillian Martin, who joins us remotely. Gillian Martin.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what action it's taken to support farmers to help meet Scotland's climate ambitions.
Minister Marie Gougeon, who also joins us remotely. Minister.
We're working with partners from across industry to take a holistic approach to agriculture, land use and food production while protecting our environment and enhancing biodiversity. And the recent Suckler Beef Climate Report delivers a set of practical actions that will lower our carbon footprint, enhance the environment and boost business. And it's important that this report, alongside others such as the Farming for 1.5 inquiry report, are all fully considered in the development of future policy. And we continue to support farmers, crofters and land managers to meet Scotland's climate and environmental ambitions. A third of current CAP schemes provide environmental funding, and we've received over 3,000 applications to our pilot Sustainable Agriculture Capital Grant Scheme.
Gillian Martin.
Thank the Minister for that answer. She mentions the independent inquiry Farming for 1.5, which recognises farming's unique opportunity that farmers have to improve their own performance as well as contribute to wider emissions reductions targets. Can the Minister also provide an update as to how many farmers have accessed leader funding in order to help them diversify, and the potential implications of the loss of that funding as we leave the EU, with no detail so far on the proposed UK Prosperity Fund?
Minister.
So the Leader Fund has supported over 100 pure farm diversification projects, which have been worth nearly £6 million. But there could well be other diversification projects supported that are part of wider cooperative projects as well. But I think one of the things about the Leader project and one of the strengths of that programme is the fact that the impact that it has on our rural communities and the sheer diversity of projects that it funds. I think it's funded everything from tea farms, helping local community cinemas, helping community builds as well. So it is a vitally important fund for our rural communities. And I actually took part in an event just a couple of weeks ago with the Angus Leader programme, where they were launching their legacy report, which went into the detail about the programme there, looking at what worked, what didn't work, and how any future scheme could look. And it really highlighted the importance of Leader. Now, the Scottish Government absolutely believe that our rural communities should continue to be supported to deliver that locally led development, because that really is inclusive growth at its best. And that's why we've been absolutely clear and consistent in our position that we expect full replacement of EU funds from the end of this year to ensure that there isn't any detriment to Scotland's public finances as a result of Brexit. And we expect the UK Government to fully respect the devolution settlement in any future arrangements. But unfortunately, we don't have any clarity on that as yet.
Gillian Martin.
Thank the Minister for that. She also mentioned the Suckler Beef Report. Aberdeenshire suckler herds form the backbone of quality beef production in Scotland. Can the Minister provide an update on the support that's been made available to that sector? And to what extent does the Suckler Beef Report provide a blueprint for the emissions reduction of food and farming production in Scotland and a sustainable future for one of Scotland's most important industries?
Minister.
I would echo what Gillian Martin said. It is one of Scotland's most important industries, and to quote what Jim Walker, who's the chair of the Suckler Beef Climate Group, had said, that the Scottish suckler beef herd is the engine room that drives economic activity and environmental management across huge swathes of rural Scotland. And as far as funding is concerned for that, there's £40 million allocated annually to suckler beef producers through the Scottish Suckler Beef Support Scheme, and that sits alongside other investment and support under Pillar 1 of CAP and through the SRDP. The Government obviously very much welcomed the recent report by the Suckler Beef Climate Group, because it recognises the need for the beef sector to significantly reduce its emissions while also increasing efficiency, productivity and the overall profitability of our producers in Scotland. And the scheme that's proposed sets out lots of practical ways for beef producers in the supply chain and for ways that they can reduce emissions and really capitalise on the resulting green credentials that would be flowing from the suite of measures as they're proposed there. So we're confident that this scheme lays the foundations for a sustainable farming sector in Scotland, and we're currently considering all the details that have been published in that report and hope to set out our next steps to that very soon.
Thank you. Some supplementaries. The first from Oliver Mundell, to be followed by Colin Smith. Oliver Mundell.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Minister if she recognises that maintaining food production on Scottish farms at current levels is vital to delivering on our wider climate change obligations, and does she agree with me that policies which simply incentivise our farmers to farm less and which outsource production to other countries, many of which have lower environmental standards, will do nothing to help our planet?
Minister Marie-Jean.
I think we certainly wouldn't be wanting to see outsourcing anywhere, especially if that's produced to lesser standards than our own, given that we do have some of the highest and best environmental standards anywhere else in the world. But again, that's why these reports that I've highlighted today, so the Circular Beef Climate Scheme, the report for farming from 1.5, we also have the Food and Farming Production Group as well. That's why all this work is so vitally important, because they, especially with those groups, Farming for 1.5 and the Circular Beef Climate Group, they've developed measures that have been developed from people that are farmers, from people that work in the industry. And for Farming for 1.5, a lot of the recommendations they've proposed are, they've come from people from involved in farming, research, scientific background, environmentalists. And that's where I think it's important, because we need to have that buy-in to any measures that are produced. And I think between all these, between the different inquiries and between the different reports, I think that we really are gearing up to have a sustainable future for Scottish farming in a way that really drives down emissions, but does so in a sustainable way. So I look forward to when we can lay out our next steps once we've taken all these reports into consideration.
Colin Smith, to be followed by Mark Ruskell.
Thank you, President Officer. The Farming for 1.5 report is another useful contribution to the debate on the future of agricultural support. But once again, organisations are being left to fill the vacuum left by the lack of policy from the government. So can the Minister tell us when the Farming and Food Production Future Policy Group's report will be published? And more significantly, when exactly will the government set out in detail their own vision for agricultural support beyond 2024?
Minister.
I mean, I know the member will remember when we had the debate back in January 19, when we first established the Farming and Food Production Group, and that really was to help us create and establish that policy, taking in all these wider considerations too. I mean, we absolutely recognise the urgency of this situation. We're in a climate emergency and there's a lot of work to be done there. But again, that's where all these reports from the various different groups are so vitally important, because they highlight, especially at Farming for 1.5, as Colin Smith mentions there, it highlights actions that can be taken in the short, medium and longer term, and practical actions that can be taken that are vitally important. So we've got to take all that information, consider all that in the round to help inform and develop our policies. And again, we hope to be in a position to lay out the next steps in relation to these reports very soon.
And Mark Ruskell.
Thanks. The Farming for 1.5 report clearly states that our subsidy system needs urgent reform if we're to achieve our climate goals. But the only scheme that's currently available to farmers, specifically to tackle climate change, is the Agri-Environment Climate Scheme, and that's closed to new entrants indefinitely. So can the Minister confirm what is the future for that scheme, and when will farmers be able to access the financial support that they need to transition to low-carbon farming with the urgency that's needed, particularly given that we're trying to recover the economy after COVID?
Minister.
Again, I appreciate the member's point, and we absolutely recognise the urgency with which this is required. In relation to the Agri-Environment Climate Scheme that Mark Ruskell mentioned, the main issue with that has been that we don't yet have certainty over the replacement of EU funding, and that's despite repeated requests to the UK government. And once we have that clarity and certainty on how wider rural support, and in particular the current Pillar 2 activity, is going to be funded, then we'll be able to decide how we proceed with that scheme. And as yet, we're still to determine whether or not to open that for applications to be funded in 2022, but we will absolutely make sure that whatever we decide in relation to that, that there is appropriate funding and support for farmers and crofters to play their part and to do more to farm sustainably, to enhance that environment and to help cut carbon emissions. But I would also say, as part of that as well, we had the pilot scheme recently, the Sustainable Agriculture Capital Grant Scheme, and that closed to applications earlier in October, and there were over 3,000 applications to that. And that was a £10 million fund to help fund agricultural equipment to deliver direct and indirect greenhouse gas emissions, as well as providing £1.5 million for the forestry grant scheme. So there are other things that we're looking at here. And again, we absolutely recognise the urgency. We're in a climate emergency, and we really want to do all we can to tackle that as best we can.
Thank you. Question 2, Liam MacArthur.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what action it will take to improve the mental health support available to police officers and staff in light of the service reporting increasing numbers of absences.
Cabinet Secretary Hamza Youssef.
Well, first of all, we are, let me say, Presiding Officer, I'm sure we're all incredibly grateful for the hard work of all of our police officers and staff throughout this pandemic. They have shown incredible professionalism. The well-being of police officers and staff is of great interest to me, and I know of the Chief Constable as well. He and I speak about this issue on a regular basis. Police Scotland has been clear that maintaining and supporting the health and well-being of their workforce is a key priority, and our police officers and staff can access a wide range of services to care for their physical and mental health throughout the Your Wellbeing Matters programme. Police Scotland provide a range of support mechanisms to colleagues, including counselling services, post-incident trauma support, as well as proactive screening. They also have 200 wellbeing champions across the organisation who offer peer support, and officers and staff can download the Backup Buddy app to their mobile devices, which has been specially developed in recognition of the need to support the mental health of those in policing. Police Scotland and the Government, of course, recognise the impact of COVID-19 on the wellbeing of officers and staff, and quickly set up a wellbeing hub to coordinate information on support services that the workforce can access. Although there are a number of officers and staff absent due to COVID-19, Police Scotland report that the current level of absence is causing no significant issues operationally for the force.
Liam MacArthur.
Thank you. Of course, we owe a debt of gratitude to our police officers and staff, and no doubt COVID has made matters considerably more difficult, but these figures were on the rise well before the pandemic hit. A year ago, in response to figures Scottish Liberal Democrats compiled on working days lost to mental health, the Justice Secretary said he was, quote, very satisfied with the support offered to police officers and staff. Days later, independent research commissioned by the Police Federation showed half of officers stressed because they lacked resources, and 1 in 10 using drugs or alcohol to cope. FOI requests now show more days than ever being lost to mental ill health. So what is going wrong?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, nobody argues otherwise that the job of police officers is an incredibly stressful one. It is one that deals with trauma day in and day out. It is one that Police Scotland recognise has to have a unique approach to mental health and mental well-being. So I've rifled off in my first answer a range of initiatives that Police Scotland have there to support individuals, to support police officers and staff for their mental health well-being. In addition, of course, the Scottish Government provided an extra £138,000 in financial year 1920 to extend the Lifelines Scotland Wellbeing Programme that is there for blue light responders, of course, including Police Scotland. In terms of the research by the Scottish Police Federation, I'm more than happy to sit down with the Police Federation to discuss this in more detail. I had a virtual meeting with them, a teleconference with them just a couple of weeks ago, but I'd be happy to touch base with them again to get more details of that research.
And Liam MacArthur.
That research was carried out almost a year ago, so that meeting should have taken place well before now. And one of the things the Cabinet Secretary didn't refer to is the staff survey. A full police staff survey is needed to properly understand whether their needs are being met. Last time round, only 8% of staff thought the National Force cared about their well-being. I've been calling on the Justice Secretary and police chiefs to conduct this survey for years. Due in 2017, it's still somewhere on the to-do list. How many more ministerial commitments and police meetings is this going to take?
Cabinet Secretary.
I would say about the planned survey, the wellbeing and engagement survey, I would say to Liam McCarthy, but I'm sure he's aware of this, that it's not for me to direct the Chief Constable when to do that survey. That is an operational matter, and it is a source of frustration, and I know it comes from undoubtedly a good place from Liam McCarthy, but a source of frustration that he will continually ask me to direct the Chief Constable to do a survey that is very much in his operational responsibility. That being said, the Chief Constable and Police Scotland senior management have told me that they intend to hold the survey in February 2021. Of course, they may have wanted to do that earlier, but we all know the pressures that the force has been under in these last 7 to 8 months.
And Liam Kerr.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Recent figures show there's been a cut of over 650 divisional police officers since the creation of Police Scotland. Does the Cabinet Secretary think there could be a relationship between such a concerning rise in mental health absence and so many fewer officers? And if so, will he take steps to reverse the fall in numbers?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, first and foremost, of course, there's over 1,000 additional officers since when we inherited office, and that is in stark contrast to when his party inherited office as part of the UK government, where there have been cuts to police officers. So I'm proud to stand on our record. I should say, in terms of resource, the Scottish Conservatives pushed us in this budget to increase police funding by 50 million. We increased it by 60 million. So we are putting our money very much where our mouth is. In terms of divisional versus national resources, again, that is an operational matter for the Chief Constable, but it has been noted by groups like Rape Crisis Scotland that the national approach to tackling issues like sex offending has been so much better with the creation of the national force. So therefore, investing in those national capabilities for a consistent approach across the country, I think has been a welcome step. But these are matters ultimately operationally for the Chief Constable.
Thank you very much, and that concludes topical questions.